No, it's long and dumb.
It's dumb. It's the dumbest long thing I've ever seen.
Weird. What about a hot dog?
Ugh.
Those are pretty dumb.
What's it like? What's it feel like?
Listen here, you big old sack of cornholes. I've been waiting 27 long years for this, and this is what I get. That's true. He has been waiting for this for
27 long years. Yeah.
Just as long as the goatee.
Yeah. All we're going to do is deal with the goatee.
We're dealing with it tonight.
We're dealing with it
going to be
tonight.
discussing, the
We've been waiting 27 long years.
That's right.
And this is going to be the culmination of all that time and that wait.
That's correct. Like weight as in like heft on your body?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. As in your fat
as in
body.
I got fat. All right. I'm shot.
Live shaving.
Live shaving. Oh, I'm going to keep it long because I'm actually going to start styling it a bit more.
Cool.
That's what I decided. Because I started twisting it into like a Jafar beard.
Cool.
Yeah. And so like when it kind of stays, it's kind of neat. But like I'm going to start training it. Ariel wants me to.
How do you train it?
Reward good behavior.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Classical conditioning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
What's up? What's going on, Marcos? Braid it. Ariel braided it for me once at one point, but it fell out. This is like a month ago. I don't know. We'll see.
So, well, it doesn't seem like it'd be long enough to hold a braid very long.
Not very easily, no. I'd have to like put like a bead in it or something at the end, or a hair tie thing. I don't know, something. But stick its tip in the pee when it messes up and say "bad girl." That's true. My beard pees on me at night, and I never wake up in time to reprimand it.
I never wake up in time to reprimand.
Yeah, hours have passed, so it has no idea what I'm referring to when I get angry. So, yeah, that's no way to teach it.
So it just makes you being like abusive.
Yeah, exactly. It makes me the bad guy, and I'm not
makes you
about
the
to do
bad
that.
Right. It just makes you look like you have an out of control temper.
Right, exactly. Yeah, people who are not in the know would think that I'm unruly. It's been.
Hi, Byron.
How many weeks? Months.
It's been a couple of months.
Probably almost late last year. I think. I don't know if you were even in. We've only done 4. This is the 5th episode this year because Ariel and I keep getting busy and like I keep having events.
I saw that. I actually looked last night just to see how frequently you guys have been doing.
We're trying. It's hard
doing it, and it's not easy to actually like.
To commit to can be really hard. Stuff comes up.
Yeah.
Friends come into town, or parents are in town for dinner, or somebody passes away.
Family crap happens.
It's really tough to get a consistent schedule.
Yeah.
We actually, I think, I want to say, Ariel discussed this a month or two ago, the idea that I want to have like a solid schedule, but with all the variables of life, I have a hard time committing like to being able to do things with people and events like this even. I want to stream my video games every week. I didn't even do it tonight because I was at work for like 3 extra hours. By the time I got home, I was too tired, and I was like, I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's something that I struggle with. I have a hard time committing to being able to do extracurricular stuff no matter how badly I want to do it. And this one was high priority because I know that like streaming is fun and playing games is fun and hanging out with friends is fun. But every time I've done Blue Lady, even if I'm too tired, I never regret it.
Yeah.
I've always felt like it's exactly what I genuinely needed to sort of untire myself.
Yeah, I was telling Colby that earlier. Like it's sometimes beforehand I'm like, ooh. Okay, it's already 9.
Yeah.
I know I have to be up early, but anytime we've started, I'm like, yep.
It's always necessary.
Yeah.
Stoked. It's never proven to be a bad decision.
Stoked I'm here.
Take some crap out of my back pocket. It's uncomfortable.
What was I going to say? I have had so much crap going on. Did I tell you about Colby's friend that came and stayed with us?
No.
For a while?
Nope.
I didn't?
No, nothing about it.
All right, so I'll just really, really briefly, like a couple of things have happened. A loved one's home burned down. That happened recently.
Mm-hmm.
A friend came to stay with us who was having a psychotic break, and that was a few weeks long.
Sure,
So there's been some really tumultuous stuff
going
on in general, just in my sphere of life, and like keeping myself balanced enough to even go to work 50% of the time.
I'm sure. I can only imagine. That's
really
personal life can eat up at that.
Yeah, and you're the first thing to go. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, drop all the biggest weight.
Right.
When the plane's going down.
Yep, bye.
Do you have another chair? You can like sit in the middle or something. Because off camera, I know you're used to being off camera here, but that's not fair.
I don't get that's fine with me.
Well, why don't you just leave?
I can go get a chair.
I'll leave.
I'll get a chair.
Do you want this chair? I'll grab a different one.
No, I'll get one. I really can't leave. I'll get one from the other room. It's fine.
She's late because she was playing Stardew Valley.
What?
It's a video game. I got her a Switch so she can play video games, and she was late because she wanted to keep playing Stardew Valley. It's a little farming simulator, and she's trying to win the affection of this girl named Leah by giving her a flower. She asked Leah to dance, and Leah said no.
Oh.
You care? Yeah.
I care.
You care a lot.
I care a whole lot.
Okay.
Let's see.
I told him that you were playing Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
That's why you were late.
Yeah, that's important.
That actually is important. But no, so you've had a lot going on, and I'm the dead weight. That's what we've established so far.
Correct.
Yeah. But yeah, someone who stayed with you, and that's several weeks long. A lot of emotional energy expended, I'm sure.
It was weeks long. Well, and a psychotic break is no joke. And I mean, I worked inpatient for a long time, but living with somebody who's in like active psychosis is a totally different can of worms,
Mm-hmm.
and that was so hard
Mm-hmm.
for a while. It is. Kevin.
Yeah,
Susan.
Kevin. Pupuzan. Susan.
Mhm.
Is that like a British pronunciation of Susan or spelling?
That's how you spell Susan.
And it's a bunch of like silent letters and weird phonetics that I'm just not used to. 'Cause
Yeah.
I speak American English.
You're dumb.
I'm dumb. Exactly. I speak undergrade American English.
Undergrade.
Dark Dawn. I finally made it to another one. Hello everyone. What's the topic for today? Set, but you're in the middle of discussing.
That was kind of it.
Where you've been.
Kind of where you've been, and
just sort of like crisis after crisis.
yeah, rains, pours, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not necessarily unwelcome crises that you
Sure.
kind of enlist for, and you're like, yes, I'll deal with this,
Mm-hmm.
but it just sort of like
It's
knocks
still a lot.
the balance off in the rest of your solar system.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
I get
So,
you.
That's that. But it's good to be back. It's good to see you. I feel like I haven't.
You feel like you.
3 houses down and we never see you.
I know.
I know.
Yeah. Well,
Are you okay?
I am. I'm okay.
Oh, good. All right.
3 houses down and I'm okay.
Okay, that's good. That's the
Yeah.
name of my memoir.
Yeah. Oh, I've been writing that.
Yeah, I've been writing that for you.
Yeah, I
It's the name of your
book
memoir. I wrote your memoir for
to
you.
let you know why I didn't have time to
I
make
was ghostwriting your. Yeah. That's nice of you. Oh yeah, but
What's
life.
been going on with you guys? Like, what's happening? What's new?
Miles broke a cat.
Yeah, he did.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
We have very naughty, destructive animals
Yeah.
in this house.
This is
I
neat.
glued part of it on, and then I haven't glued the rest.
What did
I think
you
that
do?
cat lived in this house for about a day and a half
Bummer.
Yeah,
before it was broken.
yeah, short-lived.
Was Miles just waiting for the opportunity?
I think so, because
I
he actually
think
leapt
so.
from down there all the way up there, and I was in the middle of playing a game. I had to stop playing, rush over, grab something else that was about to fall, and then
Speaking
that
of,
fell
it looks
anyway.
like the bear is going to fall in.
But that's actually what he first knocked off that I did catch. And then when I was in the middle of catching
Wow.
that, he knocked that off. So that's what's been going on.
Huh.
Yeah, that's literally it.
So this might not be the most cat-friendly room.
This
So we don't let them in.
we try not to. The little one sneaks in a lot. But no, yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to discuss. Family things. You know, lots been going on. We had a lot of family stuff on your end resolved.
Yeah, I buried my grandparents
Yeah.
finally.
Okay.
That was
Yeah.
quite a to-do.
Well, because Grandpa had been up in Santa Fe for 4 years. I'm not
No, he hadn't
mistaken.
been up there. He'd been on my parents' shelf.
Oh, on the shelf.
for
Okay.
3.5 years.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been dead for like, I guess now it'll be 4 years in June. But he there was an investigation after his death because he fell in the garage and hit his head, and then because he was on blood thinners and didn't stop taking his medication, he went to a coma and he died from like blood pooling in his brain. But because on his death certificate it said blunt force trauma was what killed him, they had to like go into this whole investigation, and then they couldn't get his ashes for like a year, and it was just this whole big thing. And then a bunch of just like familial deterioration between my father and his brother.
Very complicated.
It was incredibly complicated. Like the circumstances surrounding my grandparents' death was incredibly ugly, very, very ugly, just bad, and which, you know, and I don't begrudge it, but it ended up putting a lot of responsibility on me to deal with things at the funeral. It was hard.
Funerals are.
Yeah.
It's hard to feel like you're spearheading something like that.
You know, and it was just because of like what went down between family members and like, you know, the situation between my father and his brothers. It was just, there were a lot of it was too much, or people didn't want to take some responsibilities because there'd been so much fighting and nobody, like it had to get done, but there was nobody to do it, and so had to do it, and it was just like it was just an ugly situation, and it's nice to have it in the past now. So.
Well, I'm glad you're on the other side of it.
Me too.
Yeah, and it was, for what it's worth, a wonderful ceremony. It was really beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, she played the trumpet, and it was at the Veterans Memorial Cemetery up in Santa Fe, and it was like in a private room.
Oh, cool!
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it was
nice to have the
cool.
family there, and a lot of really genuine, good emotions with good people around.
Because I'm the child.
But it was great. It was a great passage.
You know.
So Kevin has to actually take off because he has to play God of War, like I don't, and that's okay. I hope you enjoy it. Catch up on this later, and I hope to see you soon. We had a lot of stuff. Let's see. The movie Ready Player One. I have not seen it. We are hopefully moving to Ready Player One. It's a new Spielberg film that just came out based off a book that came out some years back. Interesting. It's actually about people who sort of escape into this cyber culture called the Oasis, which is like a VR world. And the reason they do so is because it's like 2045, and the real world has become so crummy that everybody just goes to this virtual world instead, because it's the only thing that really matters to them anymore. And the creator of it was very heavily focused on like the 80s. And so the movie has like a lot of really strong like 80s and 90s sort of themes going on, because that's what the creator sort of had envisioned for his like utopian online paradise. So I don't know. I've heard it's really neat. I really want to check it out. Military Funeral. It was.
Yes, it was.
It was. It was absolutely gorgeous. It was really nice to get some sort of closure, and like in a peaceful way too.
Yeah,
I think
nice.
everything actually concluded well, from what I understand. Yeah, you know, I feel it's weird. I feel like I have like 20 topics on my mind of just like things that I've been wanting to talk about or say, and now that we're here, I can't really think about it. Like I can't think of anything specifically.
Really?
Yeah, maybe. But there's like a lot of negativity on Facebook these days.
How's there?
Yeah. Are you on Facebook right now? You're not using it much.
I haven't been.
Yeah, it's a battlefield right now where we're very divided in watching.
You're divided on Facebook from.
It's there's just so much going on in terms of people are creating a dichotomy further than I've ever seen in terms of you're this, you're that. It's black or it's white. You know, you like it or you hate it. You're with me or you're not. And there's so much gray area that's sort of going unnoticed. And conversations are simply about labeling and opposing that I'm seeing, especially with a lot of this gun control kind of stuff right now. And everybody on both sides right now are taking examples and sometimes even isolated situations and saying, well, see, here's this exception, therefore what you say is invalid. It's like it's been really hard to like read.
Like nuanced conversation is just like impossible on Facebook these days.
It's been rough, to be totally honest.
Specifically around gun control, or a lot
right now,
a lot of different topics.
Yeah. Gun control is one that I'm seeing that's been very dividing on my feed in particular. A lot of people. I got into
an interesting conversation. I shared some of it with you the other day. An interesting sort of like a political kind of debate with a friend of mine who's actually, you know, a level-headed individual who posted this like a chart or a graph kind of thing talking about the statistics of the kind of people who will block people on Facebook based on the differences in political opinion. And you remember that?
I remember this conversation.
The data was collected in the month, or it was in December after the most recent election, and the demographics that she showed, it was like Democratic women are like 83% more likely to like block someone on Facebook.
83
is something stupid like that, yeah. For differences in political opinions, and what I was interested in talking with this person about is like, rather than just posting this and being like, you liberal women,
Here's a stat,
like,
yeah.
I was like, well, actually, I would like to have a discussion about why did that happen? Why does this happen? Like, statistics like that exist for reasons, and it's worth discussing them. But what's interesting to me, and I agree with John, is like right now Facebook is in this kind of environment where people don't want to have nuanced discussions. They don't want to talk about why things happen. They don't want to talk about well, is it because someone posted an incident, like is it an isolated incident, or is it reactionary to like the comment section under a post? Is it because of harassment about politics? Is it like what actually causes that to happen? Are women more likely to be harassed about politics? Is it because of like sexist or racist politics? Are people more likely to be like, but nobody wants to have that conversation. And if you ask them like, well, that's not what this is about, it's like, yes, it is. And like, I noticed that people really just want something to be what it is. Just let the post speak for itself. And it's like, but if we can't have these nuanced conversations about what you're posting, why are you posting it? And it's like I was like debating, like talking with this person for hours the day that happened, and we didn't fight or anything, but it was just like it went in circles, just absolutely like nothing got accomplished, and nobody was angry or nasty or anything, but like a lot of people brought up some really good points that just got brushed around every single time, and be like, oh, that's not the point, or this and that, blah, blah, blah. Right. It's just like, oh, but we've got to be able to have these kind of conversations. Discussions. It's important.
Marco says, yeah, sorry that some of my posts I think is referring to gun stuff. And I want to make it very clear that I'm not anti-gun. I'm pro people who know how to use guns and safely can measure their own skill and responsibility. That's,
having them.
Yeah, if you're going to have a gun, please be absolutely aware of how to use it and when to use it and why to use it, and not just like screaming as if it's like, don't make it sound like you're going crazy. Like them by all means, enjoy them by all means. But yeah, if the Wild West, going crazy, because I don't want anybody's rights to be taken away. I want people very much to be able to exercise these rights, but I want them to do so safely in a way that is responsible. And if you're going to accept that responsibility, use it for good as well.
Yeah.
So we also Byron says people on Facebook only want to surround themselves with people who agree with them, and it's incredibly frustrating. That's also true.
And so this is something really we discussed actually under this post, is the idea of that sort of like echo chamber kind of thing, and the idea that Democratic women are more likely to want to create that echo chamber. But see, and I disagreed with this person because my best friend is the complete opposite end of the political spectrum than me. And if and I'm not the kind of person that will delete you based on your politics, but let's say that I do unfriend someone or block someone on Facebook for a political reason. I'm not that I feel that that's not contributing to an echo chamber necessarily in my life. I feel that like people are putting so much store in what Facebook can give to your life as opposed to your actual life. If I read non-biased or opposite spectrum news sources of what our actual social interactions with people who disagree with us or think of other things than us, it's not the same thing as wanting my Facebook feed to be primarily filled with cat pictures and shitty recipes I can't eat. That's what I want on my social media, people, and there's no reason it can't be that. I am not less of a person because I don't want to look at my racist uncle's bullshit tweets. Like, I don't understand why we're glorifying people tolerating things like that. Like, it's bizarre to me.
It's important to be able to regulate what you surround yourself with on a platform that you choose
for social media, because I feel like social media is not the same thing as like human actual interactions.
Yeah.
Like being tolerant of an actual person is way different than being tolerant of what you see on the internet. Like there's a complete difference. And not just what you see on the internet, but what you choose to have on your personal, like, private Facebook.
You know what's kind of funny to me right now listening to you talk about that is, so you've gotten flack, or people are getting flack for like filtering their feed. I just don't do shit. Like, I don't commit to, I just don't log in most of the time.
That's fair.
And nobody complains about it.
Well, they do. They're talking about.
Who's talking about me?
That was what this whole feed was about, though. Was like the idea that if you're in any way picky or like about your Facebook might be some kind of
Yeah.
echo chamber. The implication
That's
that
so
yours is some
interesting.
kind of like, and that you have some kind of moral failing because of it.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I spent hours. John heard me talking about a lot.
We had a very long discussion.
Idea that we like there's like there's some sort of like moral equivalency that my choice to not tolerate someone who is sexist or racist is just as intolerant as someone who is sexist or racist. And it was this really weird moral equivalency that I just was not on board for.
Well, I know I don't have moral fiber.
You did none. Yeah. The last person we should be talking to about anything regarding good and bad.
Yeah.
I personally don't block anyone for their political views. I like hearing every opinion, but when it starts to get personal and hateful, that's when I take action on blocking an individual. And I think that's the thing, is because it becomes a harassment of sorts, and you're no longer attacking ideology, but a person.
Yeah.
You can discuss and debate ideas, but the moment you have to belittle somebody directly, your argument is no longer in the water. Your argument has simply sunk, and you are doing anything you can to try to make a splash.
Well, I think it's like a function of mistaking the adversary. You know, you're mistaking that person for the adversary rather than the conflict or the strain that's going on.
Sure.
Whatever socially or politically.
And I feel like it's also like it's really indicative of what friendship is or isn't, because, and I experienced this actually quite a lot around the end of the election, which is also the irony about this poll being right after the election, is there was a lot of people that I would post something about my politics and then I would get a lot of really personal, angry, sort of attacky type things, or like, you only think that because you don't get fucked enough, and it's like, no, I don't. What's wrong with you? And then, but what that tells me is like, that person's not my friend. They're not my friend, and I don't have to keep them on my Facebook. Because
why would you keep that person
need
around?
that person in my life.
Yeah,
like, and so my choice to step back ultimately for what is a difference of politics, but also because it's like I don't need that person.
Yeah,
like they showed their true colors to me in a way that it's like I'm good, and it would ultimately be a political difference that I deleted them or blocked them from my Facebook, but I don't feel like it's a moral failing of any kind. And I do think that absolutely right after the election there would have been a lot more women who were Democrats, but it was a heightened political time for those people. Like it was I'd be interested to see a poll flopped where like it would have been a heightened time for Republicans in the same vein, where like it would have been so like I don't think it's indicative of like Democratic women are always going to be like this. It was like in that moment in time in history. I think that was how
that's
that was
a good point.
be.
Contextually, the way that particular experience felt.
I was getting all those like, this is Trump's America. It's like, okay. Like, that doesn't mean you can say awful things to me.
Yeah.
But
that green light has not been lit.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't know if you got messages or things.
You don't
like
get
that,
fucked enough. This is Trump's America. You should be getting fucked more.
I got called like a man hater and all sort of things like that. It was like but it's
the generalizations are strong right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they've calmed down a little bit, but right after the election, it was pretty bad. And so a poll like that, I think, would certainly be indicative of that like heightened political climate.
So Dark Dawn even also says, I have many friends that support Trump, but I'm not going to stop being friends with them.
My parents.
That's the thing is, a lot of my family is very conservative.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate that they're conservative, but also they're actually extremely understanding and extremely calm. Mud Arcade, I'm safe with my firearms. It's a sport hobby like anything else. Skeet shooting, target practice, and collecting. And of course, personal protection. Too many crazy people out there. And that's true. And this is why, like, when people oftentimes make the argument about guns, it becomes a very loud principle of screaming about why I want my guns because I don't want them taken away, rather than let me tell you the benefits and the merits of what I'm doing and why it's okay. And it usually becomes a screaming match that doesn't involve practicality. It simply becomes the principle of the Second Amendment says I can do this, but I want to use my Second Amendment right in case the government that made my Second Amendment goes crazy, or like something really weird. It's really out there, and it's a really difficult conversation because there's a lot to it. And I'm in no way anti-gun. I'm not a gun person. I'm not an owner, but the only reason I also don't have a gun is because I'm not trained to use one. I don't have the responsible background of one. And so
your cats could get a hold of it.
The cat could get a hold of it. Exactly.
Don't laugh.
That's
I'm
true.
Like, really, if you're breaking all your stuff.
And Opie says it's too easy to hate each other online. It depersonalizes us or makes it easier to anyways. I do agree with that. The concept of being an online entity as opposed to face-to-face. Like something that I had to address in our Facebook group at one point was when people were being sort of crummy to each other, I said, would you come into my store and treat one of my customers like that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Because they're no longer just a name with a comment section underneath them. They're a person, and you wouldn't say that to their face. You might have a discussion, you might have a conversation, but you're not going to act like this, are you? And I said, if you are on this page, you have to treat people like you would treat them in my store. Because if you're on this page, I invited you here, and you're representing me and Gamers Anonymous. If you don't want to do that, that's fine, but you can't act like that here.
Right.
And so it's not that I want to censor people, but I say, keep yourself in check, because I'm not going to allow you to treat other people poorly.
Yeah.
Disagree, have a conversation, all of that. But the moment you become an asshole to somebody, you're free to leave. I won't make you leave, but know that I'm sitting there not wanting you to be around if that's how you're going to act.
Yeah.
I don't even kick people. I won't ban people. I'll let them watch me stand over them like, some sort of disappointed stepfather, and, just start peeing my pants slightly to prove that I'm serious.
That's nasty.
It's really nasty. Nobody wants that.
It's
So
really easy to hide behind internet anonymity and be just a keyboard
let's see.
warrior.
There's a Bob Ross podcast being recommended to me because of this podcast. LOL. The internet knows you well, John. Come target practice with us. Fun times. So this is two very different things. Yeah, and I mean, around people that know to use them, I'm great with it. I'm also not interested is the thing, and so I'm fine simply not being a part of that culture. But if somebody wants to be part of that, I want them to just take every safety precaution, because there's still so much that can go wrong, and even in the hands of guided individuals, things that do go wrong.
Yeah.
And that's, but I mean, that's this. You can say the same about many, many, many things.
Yeah, I mean, when I was not in remission from my epilepsy, I wasn't allowed to drive, but I was allowed to shoot a gun.
That's interesting.
Explain that to me.
That's interesting.
That's a
yeah,
weird
and a
one.
lot of I remember getting into discussions with people who were like, "Well, why is that weird?" And I was like,
One is used for transportation. The other is used to liberate flesh from the body.
Why is that?
There's two
What do
purposes.
you mean? Why is that weird? If I could possibly have a seizure in a car and hurt someone, I could possibly have a seizure
If I
while
can
holding
aim
a
my
gun.
If I can aim my car
Yeah.
wrong, if I can aim my big
man.
ballistic
Right.
vessel wrong,
Yeah.
I can aim this one wrong
Yeah.
as well.
And again, nothing is anti-gun.
But it's really interesting
It's
because
just
some people they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear
Yeah.
anything that's like. Because I was like, I'm fine with the fact that I can't drive. I shouldn't be allowed to drive.
Mhm.
I also should not be allowed to get a gun, but currently I am allowed to,
Yeah.
and I shouldn't be.
it's an
I
interesting set of
shouldn't be.
priorities.
And people were like, "Yes, you should. It's your right." I was like, "No, it's fucking not.
Yeah.
Like I could hurt somebody.
I have a
I'm
literal
sick.
cerebral disorder.
Like,
here.
Yeah.
yeah,
Something's
disorder.
actually
I should
happening.
not be allowed to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's once I'm
Mhm.
once I'm seizure free, whatever, that's fine. Now, if I want to go get a gun, that's
Mhm.
cool. That's fine. I don't, but if I did, cool. But back when I was not in remission, I had no business being on a shooting range. But some people, they're like, "Oh, but I want to," and I was like, "No, you don't."
They're a lot of fun.
And for what it's worth, I'm sure they are.
Super fun.
Yeah.
If that's what you're into, but
Yeah.
that's not. I'm
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
Fun
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
games.
Yeah. Nothing against it. Just be responsible. That's all. That's
Yeah.
all I ever want.
And I actually have a lot more respect for the people in the pro gun thing that just it's fun. I'm into it. That like it.
Mhm.
But that's their stance is like because I want to.
Mhm.
Rather than people who are like, well, I'm going to fight my government. It's like, yeah, you're going to fight drones and nuclear weapons with your pistol. Good
think
fucking luck.
The biggest
Like,
fear that I have is the ease of dehumanizing people on the opposite end of a gun. In terms of
man.
my store got broken into last year, and then I'm a part of this Facebook page, which is the Albuquerque Crime Watch or whatever, and everybody's response to bad things is shoot them.
Oh, I know.
And the idea of simply,
just line them up and put a bullet in their head.
right, yeah, you're inconveniencing my life. I'm pro-life, by the way. Kill that person. And it's a really interesting kind of well, where do you actually stand? Because you're not all lives matter, and you're not pro-life if you just simply want to kill somebody. You want to run over a protester, you want to shoot them. I don't actually understand where you are, and it's hard because I haven't had a chance to sit down with anybody and discuss this, but I'm conflicted as to where they actually stand in terms of life, because it seems like half everything is very throwaway, and then half of this is very of course, prioritize.
And I don't know, because my family's very conservative, but they're not that kind of conservative. I come from a family of conscientious objectors, and they're not pro-life, or they're not pro-life in that sense. They're not. They're actually they're very conservative. They're not pro-abortion, but they are actually pro-life. My family is very conservative, but not in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Telescope, whatever, like into that type of thinking.
Mhm.
Because I know a lot of conservative people, but I don't know that kind of conservative people. We
Sure.
see them on the news, or you see them posting things on the internet and stuff, but I don't personally know any of them. So I don't understand.
You're from a real conservative family. I'm from a real
Fairly,
conservative
yeah,
family.
yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I mean,
Yeah.
nobody in my family, I think, has ever had.
Yeah, my brother might be the only person with the military background that really
I can't think of
prompted
anyone
that.
other than
Yeah.
military.
Yeah, my family's very like actually pro-life in the sense of like you don't hurt people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, nobody wants. Ideally, nobody should want anybody to die. I want people to get better. I want everybody to be a better person, not to die. You know, and you know whatever measure it takes for you to be a better person.
Sorely disappointed because everybody's gonna.
I know exactly. Well, maybe dying makes you better.
Maybe it does.
It makes you better being dead.
See? So maybe we can kill
them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
this is the genocide podcast. We're
Yeah.
rebranding after this year. And Byron actually brings up a good point, and this is important to really stress, but the biggest issue when it comes to the pro-anti-gun argument is the sheer amount of misinformation about guns and gun laws that is spread. And everybody is guilty of this on both sides, and there are extremes. And so I don't ever want people to think that I'm taking, one side over the other, because I actually line fairly middle,
moderate,
when it comes to like a lot of political things, probably leaning left, but there's still a lot of right ideologies, and it becomes extreme on either side, and that's where I go, the label is going to put me on one of these two extremes, because if you get labeled, you're immediately crazy, Democrat or crazy Republican, and it's like, I actually would like to just abolish those words from discussion in most cases, because oftentimes it simply becomes that's the only thing somebody hears.
I think like any kind of bipartisan argument is destructive to the argument.
Yeah, a friend of mine is an English teacher, and whenever he has his students write papers, they actually can't use liberal, Democrat, Republican, conservative. Like they're not allowed to use those words, because then it becomes just a weird pointed kind of thing as opposed to discussing an actual issue. And
most people, I think, have a lot more complicated opinions than party allows.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
And then they just sort of, because of the way that our politics are organized, they take those really complicated opinions and they think, well, this is the closest. And then they sort of pop themselves down which one fits the most. And none of them fit perfectly. And they're like, well, I guess I'm kind of a Republican. I'm kind of a Democrat.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody.
To slide yourself into. Yeah.
Personally, I'm sure there's something.
I think it's a very large gray area.
I just don't know anybody that is.
And it's the black or whites that I actually just want to stay away from.
Yeah.
In terms of the larger scale gun control issues, I'm not researched. I definitely would be ignorant about statistics.
Sure.
And I certainly would not be somebody that could speak.
Well, I would definitely say the thing that has to change the most is we need to stop NRA bans on CDC research on gun violence.
I feel like the only thing that I really would, feel like there's a whole lot of credit to the way I feel about guns is on an individual level.
Sure.
Really,
yeah.
because I haven't scaled, to look into statistics or to look.
There's
into
not a lot of statistics.
Well, and the
Because
statistics themselves are so incredibly malleable. Anyway, we can make them mean anything that we want them to.
But as it stands right now, it's illegal to research gun violence because. What was it? I don't remember how many years ago it was that the NRA lobbyists made it so that the CDC cannot research anything related to guns.
What now?
And that has got to change. And so when people get really bent out of shape about the NRA, most people, unless it's the hive mind on the internet, and I can't speak for them, people like myself at the very least, that's what we're pissed about. Is because how can we talk about gun violence? How can we talk about mental illness related to guns, whatever, when we can't study it?
Yeah.
Because it's not legal. Because that passed in a bill within the last decade, and it's bullshit.
It's not politically correct to seek information.
Yeah. Well,
right.
So that's got to stop, and that has to change. And until we have that information, how can we make informed decisions about gun control and gun laws? But because the NRA has blocked that, we can't make those informed decisions, and they've done that very intentionally. And that's what has to change right now. So
Byron says, I have typically very centrist political beliefs, and so many people have told me some variation of, you're either against us or with us. Paraphrasing, of course, but most of today's issues cannot be solved in a bipartisan mindset.
correct.
Yeah, it becomes very, very tricky, and that's why I'm also very hesitant to ever use labels, is because the moment you say, well, I'm this, they're like, oh, well, you believe this, that, and the other thing. It's like, well, actually, no.
Yeah.
But, can we actually discuss it instead of making assumptions about what each other believes based off a label?
Well, not only that, but, so you believe this, and that, and you're made of this, and that, and this is how I feel about you now.
Right.
Like,
immediately.
Right.
Yeah, it's simply sort of like a stimulus response almost.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's tricky. And that's something that I'm seeing like an awful lot nowadays, and that can be rough, because I even have some friends who say all I want to do is tear apart the arguments of liberals or Democrats. And like it's on both sides, and the only thing they seek to do is to try to not educate, not discuss, not interact, not learn, tear apart is what I've heard. I want to simply dismantle your argument. But it's used from like a place of I want conflict as opposed to I want an understanding.
And that's fascinating to me, because even at the most extreme levels of of all the isms, I can't imagine not wanting to simply educate someone that's wrong. Like if someone is extremely racist, extremely sexist, or classist, or all of the problematic ists, wouldn't you want them to change? And the only way that's going to happen is if they learn. So obviously, I guess it comes from dismantling the way that they think, but in an educational way.
That's the thing, is the approach. You can do the same thing, but from two different mindsets.
I remember you talking once about, this was quite a while back, but you were talking about, I think it was on Facebook, that you had seen some kind of post about some girl talking about getting hit on, and she really didn't like it, and somebody kept hitting on her,
Yeah.
And somebody said in a comment, like, wouldn't you like that? I would love that.
Yeah, I'm a guy, and
so
his understanding wasn't to try to mansplain, from my perspective, and maybe I'm totally wrong, but his perspective was to say...
I thought this was interesting, the responses you started to get.
Sure, because, he said, well, I was a guy, and he said, and if I were a lonely dude and some chicks were hitting at me at a bar, I think that would be great. And she was like, no, you can't do that. And I was like, okay, well... So I did chime in, and I was like, well... But understand where he's coming from. He doesn't have the experience that you do. He doesn't have the toxic approach that you get. He doesn't have the aggressive behavior that you see. So he's not seeing it this way. But men like to feel validated, and more men than I know, more men than women.
Well, and what's interesting to me is it sounds like the way he worded what he worded wasn't like, you crazy bitch. It was like,
it wasn't at
I'm
all
confused. Like, help me understand.
That's
almost
very much
as though
what
he
it
was saying, like, I'm a dude and I'm not understanding where this would feel this way to you.
Correct. Yeah, he was not aggressive or toxic in any way about it.
And the responses,
It was
and
still
the
very
responses
aggressive.
It was just immediately taken as adversarial or some kind of opposition rather than opening up a dialogue for this topic. And then so you say whatever you say, and behind the scenes you got this message from this chick telling you to sit down and know your place.
That's exactly what it said. Yeah, she said, this is no conversation for you. Sit down and know your place. And I was like,
that's fucked up.
Whoa.
So I can, just from hearing this, I've heard this, but like I can say that I have been told by a lot of men when I talked about like being unwanted attention from men, when I've talked about that, the number of times I've had people tell me that I'm overreacting because, I would love that, or this would feel great, or it's like that gets fucking old.
Sure.
Like it gets really old hearing that from guys. And it's like you're trying to talk about how hard something is, and then all you get told is how great that would feel when you're
That's funny.
I'm tired of hearing that because I'm trying to tell you it doesn't feel great. And so I can understand, like, although I don't know completely, but like if that's all you ever hear, and then like once again, that's what someone tells you, I could see where just like a snap response would be like, come on. Her response for you, it seems like, was uncalled for. It's not in my nature to ever tell someone to sit down in another place. Even if I'm irritated, I just won't talk to you. Like, I just won't respond. But I can understand why she might get annoyed with that person.
He was seeking information, though, very innocuously. He wasn't accusing her or belittling her or berating her or saying you should have done this or you should have done that. He was saying, I don't understand.
I come from here, and this is how I would feel. What I
think I'd have to see the exact wording.
What I think is the most
exactly how I would feel in that situation.
Like fascinating about that thing that happened, though, is that this is my opinion, like she emphasized something and he emphasized something and everybody went on emphasizing something that I don't even think was the main issue. Because you're talking about hitting on gender, I don't think it has to do with gender. I think what it was that like she had said no to somebody several times and the no just wasn't being heeded.
Yeah.
He did. So whether that's like male, female, about eating a sandwich or about hooking up, I mean, I don't give a shit what the topic is or who the
I feel
gender
like
is.
even if you're a guy, that's more like annoy you.
It's more like, you know, if somebody says no to something and you're like, no, I'm going to continue to push for this thing. That's actually more of like that's more of just a boundary power dynamic than it is anything at all. And so she's focusing on the male-female plight of female in this situation, which I'm not saying doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
And you know, so he's responding to the fact that she presented that way when literally what I thought the primary thing that everybody was talking about was when something has been already said no thank you and it's continuing to be pushed, that's a different issue entirely.
So what's interesting to me is because I also agree that it seems like she's talking about the boundary issue, not the gender issue, which is why I feel like if I'm talking about a boundary issue and once again someone tells me that they would like that and it's a guy and it's like, come on, no you wouldn't. Like, and I think I do get annoyed.
If you tell me no 8 times and I won't leave you alone, you're not going to like it.
You're going to
You're going to get annoyed.
You're going to get annoyed. And I feel like I get sick and tired of hearing from guys, oh, I like it. It's like, no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
Do you know that? I have people that come into my store all the time, and they are some of the most wonderful but genuinely lonely people, and literally any interaction for them is interaction that they will.
What I did not explain though, like because the I think what you're saying is like I said no, and the person didn't respect the no. So even the lonely person said no, and no wasn't being respected. You're not gonna like someone not respecting your no.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I think I don't like hearing people say, I'd like it. No, you wouldn't. And that's the point. If someone is not respecting your boundary, I don't care how lonely you were. If you said no and that person didn't respect your no, that's the point. And that's why I get super annoyed when people are like, well, I'd like it. No, you wouldn't.
Well, people emphasize it as some sort of like attraction principle, and it's not that.
It's not that.
Yeah.
And it feels really disrespectful.
It does.
People are like, I would like that. It's like, did you hear what I said? Because I'm not talking about getting hit on, because that's not it. It's someone disrespecting the fact that I said no thank you.
Sure, but you know what? She never once said that to him. Immediately she attacked him, and
that's my point. Like,
and that was the problem.
That would have been a beautiful opportunity to tell him, like, yeah, I hear you. Like, if you're lonely and you wanted attention, you want attention. But what I'm saying is, I already let this individual know I don't like this. I'm uncomfortable. Please go away.
He did X, Y, and Z.
Right. She assumed that he was basically saying, no. You should just receive this push.
Yeah. So you know my experience, therefore you should experience it the way I did.
That's not what he honed in on what she was saying. And so, like, it would have been a beautiful opportunity to say, please emphasize that what I'm saying is not about being hit on. What I'm saying is, I told somebody, please get out of my space, and they didn't.
This was explained to me once when I mistakenly, I guess, went into somebody's, like, bubble mistakenly, not realizing that I was being offensive in asking a question. And I don't even remember exactly what it was that I asked, but it was a friend of mine, a Native American friend of mine, and I asked a question about race relations, and I don't remember exactly even what it was, and they got really upset with me, and they told me, they're like, it is not my job to always teach white people what they do wrong. And I was kind of like really taken aback, and he was like, you don't understand how exhausting it is to constantly have to teach you. And in that moment, it really made me aware of the fact that, like, you know what, it does get really tiring sometimes to always have to teach people why what they do is frustrating. And I will admit, sometimes, like, I get so tired on Facebook. I get so tired in real life when people say offensive or frustrating things, and I have to constantly teach them why what they're saying is a problem. And again, I'm not trying, I guess in a way I'm playing devil's advocate, but also kind of I don't know exactly the details of this thing, but like, I do agree what she said to you is unnecessary, but maybe her reaction to this person came simply from the fact that it should not always have to be her job to have to teach and explain why someone who stumbles and makes mistakes, like, it should to some extent also be our responsibility simply to not make them.
If you're posting
That would
it on
be
Facebook,
great.
it is your
Well, I know that.
responsibility
You know,
to
an optimal
educate,
thing.
though.
Yeah.
I know.
If you're
That's the
posting,
thing.
yeah, like if you're posting something on Facebook, it kind of is
You're
your
assuming the
responsibility.
responsibility,
You're
not just
assuming
say, I'm going to put it out there and then
responsibility to
close my
dialogue.
ears and
Yeah,
start screaming
and
when
fuck
somebody
any of
asks
you that-
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it's
yeah.
a very frustrating approach. And it's like, then why are you even talking about it if you don't want somebody to respond in a way? Do you just want the you know, yeah, you know, go you, or yeah, screw them? Do you want simply the acknowledgement, or do you want, you know?
Or maybe it's reaching out to the people who do understand.
Mhm.
Maybe sometimes it's not about, you know, if my African American friends on Facebook post about something, you know, related to what it's like to be, how difficult it is to be black, that's not for me. You know, it's not
Sure.
for me to relate to or to be like, yeah, I understand, because I don't, I never will. And it's not for me to respond to. And maybe sometimes when a woman talks about how sometimes it can be difficult to be a woman, maybe it's not for men to respond to. And I know that sucks, but like maybe it's just not.
Because what I always wonder is, and I very much think that if you're going to use a platform to discuss something, you have to be like, this is often the times the reason I won't post things or I won't respond to things is because I know that I don't want to put in the due effort later to have to continue the response. I don't want to simply say something and then walk away. I feel that's more irresponsible. And if I want to put information out there and I want to start a discussion, even if I want to invite opposition to help somebody, that's why I post it. You know, I feel it's important to acknowledge the responsibility that comes with putting your 2 cents out there.
See, and I just disagree with you because I feel like it's really limiting to say that every single person that you know on social media has to be able to relate and understand, and you have to be willing to explain yourself.
What's funny is they were very good friends too. It wasn't just some random dude. They were 2 very good friends, and she refused to talk about it.
Well, I'm not saying that even in this case, but I'm just even thinking about things that I might post or say. Like I think that it's problematically limiting to what social media could be to say that I have to be willing to explain to every single person on my Facebook list what I'm thinking or feeling or how that relates. If they don't understand, if they want to take something the wrong way, or if that's just not for them. I think that it's fair for it simply not to be for everybody. It can be for a specific type of demographic that might understand.
Sure, it can, but if somebody asks you about it, do you feel like you just want to say, go figure it out yourself? Here, type it in Google?
Fuck you for that question.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm the kind of person who would simply not respond if it was too hard, like if it was something that would cause me anxiety or stress. Or respond at a time when I was not in that position of anxiety or stress.
Sure.
But that's how I am.
Sure.
But I also think that it's not like I think it's unfair to say that it's irresponsible use of Facebook to maybe reach out so that that group of friends that can relate or understand wouldn't be able to see it. Like, cause maybe you just need that one person to see, you know, and have that one person that's like, I feel you, you know, and maybe that's all you need. And I feel like social media could be a very useful tool in that sense. And maybe you've got, you know, 1,000 people on your Facebook and 900 of them won't understand. But that group that will is what you need in that moment. You know, and I think to simply say that it's irresponsible is not quite correct. So I'm not sure the best way to express how I'm feeling, but that's mostly it, I think.
Okay.
So that's how I feel about that anyway.
Sure.
I also don't think it's ever right to be rude to someone on the internet or to be rude to somebody in real life or to be nasty. And so I'm not defending her rudeness. But to some extent, I think I understand the feeling behind it. And so I don't know the kind of person she is in real life, or I don't know who this person is. So like if she's the kind of person that snaps really easily, if she has a temper.
Apparently, yeah.
Like I'm not the kind of person who would ever do that.
Sure.
Like, but if I posted something that maybe somebody, like a lot of people wouldn't relate to, chances are I just would ignore those comments and deal with the ones that maybe were what I was needing emotionally at the time, and either go back to them later or just not acknowledge them. And then just like, if it was a post that was reaching out, like which something like that would be like, and that's what I would do in that sense, I think.
So I don't know that I think that irresponsible is like the wrong word for it though. And like, this is why I don't think it's her job to be responsible for it. I don't think that's the point.
That's fair.
If she doesn't want to be responsible for it, by all means. I think it's absolutely accurate though. Like if I put something out there and I'm not willing to go with it later, that is irresponsible. In no way, shape, or form am I held and bound to being responsible for it. Like I don't think that she was. I think that's cool.
Sure.
But I think it actually kind of is the right word, that is choosing an irresponsibility, which to me just basically means I'm choosing not to pick this up and usher it.
Okay, that's fair. I guess
That makes
maybe
sense.
I was just
Yeah.
thinking that word irresponsible felt really ugly.
It has a connotation that's
Mhm.
it has a negative connotation, but I think like, especially when we're talking about dialogue, what we're saying here is like if somebody wants to be responsible and usher a conversation or be irresponsible and let the conversation go on its own.
Sure.
Both of those things have to be something that a person's allowed to do.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That makes
Either
sense.
way,
Yeah.
either
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
Makes
either
sense to me.
direction. And so this is my point with her is not like she didn't have to respond to the guy, but what her response was essentially like really diminishing, really diminishing of the individual himself.
Yeah.
When he was straight up asking a question.
Yeah, and only because he wasn't approaching it like, some asshole that was like,
He
oh man, I
wasn't,
could have
yeah.
gotten more pussy. Like, it wasn't anything along those lines at all. It was very, like, genuinely curious
I don't
and
get
genuinely,
it. Like, hello,
yeah,
I don't understand.
I'm raising my hand.
Yeah.
Please help me understand.
I didn't have 101.
Yeah.
Could you, like, guide me?
He's
really
a dude that I know, and I have people on my friends list who could be that asshole very easily. Who
Yeah.
could be like, you're just mad because you didn't get laid, or whatever,
Yeah.
stupid, terrible, dumb,
Yeah. This is
awful
true,
comment,
Erica.
right? Yeah, it could have been something
Your
really, really
pussy's
stupid.
available for the grabbing, idiot.
And it was literally a guy who was like, please help me understand. It was met with so much aggression. So a lot of my responses were like, listen, I don't agree with the behavior of this person who accosted you at the bar. I don't agree with any of this. I think it's terrible, but I'm trying to understand what he's asking, and I think this is what he's asking, and I got torn apart for it. I was like, listen, I said I don't agree. I said this is a terrible situation, and I'm sorry I went through it and it shouldn't have happened. But he needs an answer, and I can't answer. You can probably answer more than I can because I'm not in this situation. I'm not in this scenario. But so I got torn apart for that too, and then I got the follow-up personal response, which was just like, all right, this is done.
So that's the 83% liberal female that would go
There it
blocking
is.
someone.
You're right.
But I actually feel like that's more of a I meant
Probably.
it what I said to my friend the other day, because I've myself included, in many of my friends, and I've talked and I've seen them post even they'll post the same meme that they'll have gotten from a male friend who's also liberal, and then they'll get just awful responses from conservative men on their friends list. I got right after the election, I had people that would respond to things that I posted that were political that were like, you only think like that because you're a man-hating lesbian who doesn't get fucked enough. This is Trump's America now. You better get fucking... It's just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's like a caricature of a person written in some sort of crazy dystopian comic. That's what it sounds like, only for it's actually
It's the
some
kind of
guy.
thing you just want to say right back, like, oh, thank you, I've changed.
Yeah. I just got fucked 20 times and now I'm...
You're right. Now he's elected.
Now I love
I
God
guess
and
I'm
bald
going to
eagles
change.
and guns. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he was elected. Okay, you're right. I should shut up.
Yeah. Mud Arcade Marcos actually says, another PS4 system update. That's funny. John, remember some lady came into your old store, got mad at you for your tattoos, threw a book in your store before she bailed. I forgot if it was a religious book or something. Yes.
That's in the other room.
I have it. It's called the Homosexual Balancing Act. But anyway, I don't know if I told you this story. Yeah. So this woman came in, and this is a really interesting scenario. This lady came in the store one day. This is back at the old location in the middle of the Wyoming store. It was in the middle of the shopping center, and I was behind the counter working, and some guy was in there browsing some games, and some lady comes in, and she looks sort of dressed in Amish attire. And she had a little basket with a bunch of cookies in it. She goes, "Oh, hey, did you want to buy some cookies?" And I looked at them. I was like, "Oh, they look really delicious, but I don't have any money at the moment. But thank you so much. I appreciate that." And so I'm sitting there cleaning discs, and she sort of just stands there, and she goes, "Oh, those are very interesting tattoos." And I said, "Oh yeah, I have a lot of video game characters." She goes, "Well, unfortunately going to hell for that, right?" And I said, I said, "The relationship I have with Jesus, it's my own deal. Don't worry about it. Thank you though." And because I don't know, I'm at work, I don't get too worked up about really anything, and so she was just, okay. And so she walks out, and the guy sitting there looking at the games just starts giggling, and I was like, I don't know, man. So I'm sitting there polishing my games, and then I see the door pop open, and this little pamphlet flies in. And I was like, all right. So I walk over to it, and it's this 30-page long handmade book called The Homosexual Balancing Act. And it is hilarious. It looks like satire. I should show this to you because it is one of the most incredible things I've ever written. And I almost feel that it can't be real, but I mean, it's so passive aggressive and then overly aggressive
Yeah.
in so many different parts, and it's really incredible. You like listening to heavy metal? Well, I hope you love the devil because you're gonna die and go to hell. And it's like really like, you know, there's even one line in there that makes me laugh because this is why I almost feel it's satire, is because it's like quoting, you know, some awful, you know, devil eating person that says, you know, I've got a big pee-pee or something like that. And I was like, did I write this? This is insane.
That's something I've said.
I said, yeah, exactly. They're quoting me. This is great. It was a really, really super, yeah, no, extremely judgmental. It was called the Homosexual Balancing Act, talking about, like, you know, if you have the marks of the devil on your arms, or if you have ever looked at another man, you know, within like a 2-mile radius, you're going to hell. Like, whatever it was, like, it's really stringent on like the rules of, you know, how to get into God's extremely, you know, 0.01 percentile good graces. I don't think anybody qualifies for that, by the way, because, you know, your mom probably kissed you on the cheek, meaning that she kissed your dad at some point, meaning you're gay now. And incestual, according to this book. Yeah, like it was really like trying to like tie a bunch of things together to make like this really strong case for, you know, how you're just the devil. And it was, unless you sell cookies to the guy at the game store and then he turns you down.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really, really strange.
Well, I'm glad she's going to heaven.
Yeah, no, good on her. I'm really excited for her to tell Jesus all about my cut man tattoo and how awful I was because I played Mega Man when I was a kid and liked it so much that I drew it on my body.
Right.
Oh, wow. That's too bad. Byron says, I've had a friend once say, I can't imagine being devoid enough of empathy to be a conservative. That's incredibly upsetting to generalize an entire group of people in such a gross way. And yes, absolutely. Saying stuff like that, whether you're a liberal or you're conservative, left or right, you know, whatever it is, it's not okay to belittle the other side, because there's no other side with this invisible divide that we made to, you know, subjugate our ideologies. And that's, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
We're all people, and we all want to love and live and be happy and safe.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure universally.
Yeah. My
you know?
best friend on the whole planet is a conservative, and she's one of the most loving, empathetic, beautiful people that I know. She's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she loves other people. She cares about other people. She works incredibly hard to take care of them. She's a middle school band director.
Mm-hmm.
She spends all of her time caring about other people.
Yeah, she's evidently empathetic to some and
Right.
less to others, just like
That's just like everybody.
Like everybody. No.
is
Yeah.
empathetic to some and less so to others.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
sort
the
of
left
like,
and the right, the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the big difference, the big moral difference, as far as I can tell, between, you know, conservatives and liberals is the, like, do you on a moral level feel that it is, as a society, our duty to take care of others, or that it is our duty to take care of ourselves?
Mhm.
And if you think that it's our duty simply to take care of ourselves and those and who we choose to take care of,
Mm-hmm.
then chances are you're a conservative at heart, and that's fine.
Mhm.
And if you believe as a society we are obligated to take care of everyone to some degree,
Mhm.
and not just who we choose to take care of, then you're going to lean left.
Mhm.
Neither of those is inherently wrong.
Yeah.
There's neither of those is better than the
Yeah.
other morally.
Loving
They're
other
both
people
to some
and
extent.
self-preservation are both very okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and the thing is, conservatives take care of other people, just who they choose.
My parents, they're conservative, and you know what? I
They're
lived
the
due
most
to them.
charitable kind of people
Yeah.
that I know.
Yeah.
My parents are incredibly
They helped
kind
me
and charitable.
survive all my infant years.
it's kind of like no matter how you slice it, everybody is saying to some degree or another, I care about the highest good of something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or someone.
Like there's each spectrum has its
Sure.
ethics, and neither is better than
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other.
Right.
It's just, where do you align?
Yeah.
That's all.
And it sucks because if you stand up for it, people are automatically going to judge you for it.
Yeah.
No matter what side you're on, you're going to feel the wrath of somebody else saying, why don't you see it my way?
You know, that's really as far as I can see.
Yeah.
You know, if you think that the better way to take care of the world is to say that everybody should take care a little bit of everybody, or do you think that, you know, because you can delegate who to take care of? And that's, you know, that's how I know a lot of people who are conservative, that's how they think. And it's still empathetic, it's
Yeah.
still kind, and it's still caring.
Agreed.
It's,
Your parents are some of the most caring people that have actually helped us. I know there's still
Yeah.
issues, like anybody, because we're all human.
yeah.
You've got issues, I got
They're-
issues,
they're-
Michelle. Jesus.
I'm a walking issue.
Yeah, you are
Right?
the issue. Yeah, because
I
you're
am the
around me, I have
issue.
issues.
My
Yeah.
parents are like beacons for that example. Like, they want to choose who they help.
Mhm.
And they will help.
But
They will
they
give
help. They've
the
done
shirts
so
off their back
much for
people,
us.
but they want to
Yeah.
choose who they give it to.
They have done
don't
so
want
much.
to just
Yeah.
a little to everyone. They'll give all they have to who they pick.
Yeah.
You know.
And this is even like on a very facetious level, a superficial level. It's sad that people want other people to like exactly the same things they do. It's been this way forever. Chevy versus Ford, Sega versus Nintendo, Xbox versus PlayStation, Coke versus Pepsi. Who cares? And
the answer is Coke.
Well, if you want a better drink, Pepsi is the better drink. If you
it's
prefer
Coke.
inferior drinks, Coke is a great drink.
No, Coca-Cola is the correct answer.
For-
He's wrong.
Did you see what Byron said about being a man is gay?
Being a man is gay because you're a brain inside a man and that's gay. I mean, you know, just be who. And ultimately, yes, of course, it's all innocuous and silly and like so inconsequential. But you and I actually had this discussion years and years and years ago, and it was something. Just the way you phrased it to me was, you know, don't assume that your goals are everybody else's goals.
Yeah.
You know, just it was very, very simply put. It was just like, yeah. You know, because if your goal is to be the richest man, do the thing that makes you the richest man. If that's your goal, then stepping on people might be the way to your goal. And that's your deal. Not mine, but like, you know, because ideally you can achieve a goal without hurting anybody else. But everybody's got different things, you know, and I see it in the video game world all the time because that's what I'm closest to. But, you know, how could you like this movie, or how could you like this game, or how could you like this food, or how could you like this concept? I'm just like, because I have a different experience, a different background, a different upbringing, a different set of understanding, you know. I don't know if you saw, like about a month ago, there was these moms in Arizona that were driving around trying to like teach their children, like these two little girls, to hate Muslims, and they were going to mosques and threatening to like burn them down or whatever, and they were live streaming it, and they got arrested because Jesus Christ. But
I never saw it.
Yeah, so it was on Facebook. It was this thing happened in Arizona a couple of weeks or maybe like a month back, and kids are taught that, you know, like your kids aren't going to grow up knowing this kind of stuff until you teach them, and everybody has different backgrounds. So if a little kid grows up and is a crappy person, maybe it's because their mom sucked, or their dad sucked, or their guardian sucked. We've had this discussion too.
Or their friends sucked.
Or their friends sucked. You know, you can look at somebody who has a lot of issues and say, I wonder what their upbringing was like, because that's where it stems from, right? You know, the circle of friends they held, the people that they considered their family, that they looked up to, that they idolized and respected.
Yeah, I don't think any of us develop in a vacuum.
Yeah. It's all influenced by literally everything around us.
Yeah.
You know, I used to watch a lot of tennis, so the fact that I'm not Andre Agassi breaks my heart every day.
Well, it should.
Yeah, because I'm not him.
And a failure.
I failed him and myself.
Yep.
No.
And tennis.
I failed tennis. Yep. If you put pineapple on pizza, you're dead to me. Good night. There it is.
I
I'm going to crash out.
Pizza.
Take care, John and ladies. Marcos, it's good to have you here, man. Kellen's here too.
Hi, Kellen.
Pineapple on pizza versus pineapple on burger. Both of those things, you shouldn't put trash on your food.
I like pineapples.
I know some people like trash on their food. It's the trash fruit. It's literally, pineapple translates into trash apple. Would you put a pine cone? No, a trash cone.
Why do I talk to you?
I don't know. Because you like trashy things. Hey, I said it.
You did.
That's right. Well, Ariel, I got bad news. Yep.
I can live with that.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Marcos. Hello, Kellen. Hello, everybody else who's here. It's cool to have you back, Michelle.
Yeah.
It's cool to be back.
It's cool to have you in this room using your vocal cords.
Yeah, I like to use my vocal cords in this room.
In this
I'm
room.
glad that you're using them in a way that's not just noise.
To your sound apparatuses.
It kind of is. To the animals, it's just noise.
How do you know that?
Not to us, though. Like, I'm
Well,
glad
to
that
me, it's
she's
noise,
just
but
not
it's noise I
sitting here.
understand.
Shut up.
Just saying. Oh, it's good. It's good. It's good.
Weird. You're weird.
A little over a year later, and you found out.
Is it? Oh, it is over a year.
Exact
Yeah.
It was
moment.
March.
Yep, March 5th.
Hey
I'm
now.
covered in cat hair.
That's weird.
How'd that happen?
I have
How
no
does that
idea.
happen?
Yeah.
How would that happen to one?
Michelle, we've adopted 45 cats out at the store as of like a week ago.
Sweet.
Yeah, and that's just at the East Side store. 45 cats in 2 years.
Cool. That's
I know.
amazing.
I know. It makes me feel very, very good. Do you mind if we talk about a friend of ours? Don't think he watches, but if you'd rather keep it between those affected, I understand. It's just rather been a hot topic recently. I mean, we can, you know.
Yeah.
we can keep it ambiguous, but we can discuss this. Yeah,
That's what I think.
This might be a good opportunity to do so. There's a friend of ours that we've been having a little bit of trouble with, in a sense. Trying to think the best way to say it. I was taught to hate gays when I was young from my grandparents. But I learned I didn't have to be so hateful for no reason. It caused my relationship with my grandparents because they don't talk to me anymore.
Wow.
Which is really unfortunate. Because
interesting that you say this, because part of this discussion I had on Facebook the other day was talking about how left-leaning people are morally problematic because we're all right with not talking to family members over political differences.
Mhm.
And this is why I had to tap out of the conversation, because as far as I'm concerned, like the moral, like trying to make a moral equivalency between like not being tolerant of an intolerant family member is and that like I just can't with that.
It's not isolated to one party.
Yeah.
Like making the decision to step away from a family member with a significantly problematic view like that is not a bad thing.
Yeah, you're not being intolerant. I think
not.
there's definitely a line of
Well, that's kind of what I mean by be responsible or be irresponsible.
Yeah. Know when to sort of leave something alone. I think it's
Yeah.
fair.
Like choose your priorities.
Yeah.
And go.
That's fair. Let's see. Yeah, sorry to hear that. Despite that, I hope you feel better without that toxic belief. I hope so too, and I'm proud of you for standing up for that. And even though it cost a relationship in that regard, I think it's genuinely something that is better for you.
Me too.
No matter how much you love your family, if they are harming you, if it harms you, walk away. I saw somebody posting the other day. It says, if it costs you your peace, it's too expensive. Very good. Yeah.
So that's the stuff you want to see on Facebook. Cats and
I want to see cats and inspirational quotes.
All I want to see is people's pets. Every single day I go on Instagram and I look at the Elfie Gimli Instagram and I just scroll.
Those little dwarf cats, they're the cutest.
They're perfect,
yeah.
And that's what the internet exists for.
That's fair. That's
just
true.
For me to look at that.
But yeah, I mean, actually, this might not be the worst venue to discuss the issue that we've actually said, and several people in our community have actually talked to me personally about this. It's a discussion I have had several times over the past month, especially.
It's getting worse.
Just a friend of ours who is very much struggling with responsibility in that everything that happens to him, he's the victim. You know, gets fired from his job, or he doesn't get this, or he doesn't have the chance to go do that. And there's a lot of means. Right now, we're trying to help him get his GED. And
there's only so much that I can do.
Because a lot of it is met with excuses. Well, it's too expensive. Well, I don't know how. Despite being met with, I'll help you pay for it, or I'll help you study for it.
And I literally showed him exactly where to go, told him exactly what to do, exactly when to do it, and just it doesn't get done.
Yeah, and a lot of it started as well too. This past holiday, where he borrowed some money a while back to actually buy some stuff from me, and said he'd pay me back by in like 4 months. And by that time it was December, and he said, "Okay, well by the end of the year." And I was like, "All right, well." And it's been 5 months since then, and haven't seen a penny of it, but he's been acquiring a bunch of new things, and I don't say anything about it, but he buys a new game, or he buys new this, or buys new that, and I haven't said anything, but all the people in our group notice it, and it's bothering them tremendously. So it's sort of like a lot of things sort of stacking up that are complicating the relationship, where we've even had a couple people that stopped coming to some of our functions because he's draining them. It's like he'll latch onto somebody until they have no more left to give, and then they sort of disappear for a bit because they don't know what to do, and then he finds somebody else, and then the cycle sort of perpetuates. And we're just trying to figure out how to address it, how to discuss it. I believe he is genuinely a good person with priorities that need to be mapped out.
I think that he has some social awareness issues. I think he has boundary issues that he doesn't understand as far as closeness and proximity to others. He's had is this okay if we can talk about it on the podcast?
That's what the podcast is for.
Okay. I'm just worried about airing somebody else's laundry.
Well, I think there's certain things you don't say, but
that's what I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I just won't. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
If you're not sure if you should say it, don't say it.
Because I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah.
But
Well, okay. Well, let me. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's okay.
therapy session.
So, well, but in terms of like what can and can't be said, I think really is more so what can we trust and not trust won't be judged.
Mhm.
Really.
What do you mean?
So, I mean, I don't know that I think anything is specifically off limits unless there is an awareness like this is going to get judged.
Mhm.
This is going to get, you know what I'm saying? Because like
Mhm.
we all have our shit, and it's all we all have
Sure.
like
Sure.
low scum history
No, yeah.
experiences.
Yeah.
Like we've all got some weird shit, and so like I guess I just want to say that I don't know that PC is. It might be necessary. I don't know what you're talking about, but would it be worth challenging just to like out with it?
I'll leave that really up to you. I think for the sake of discussion, we very well can. He might be listening, he might not. I actually don't know, to be completely honest. And it's something that I actually want to sit down with it and address with him specifically, like on a one-on-one kind of thing, because it's gotten to a point where if it affects me, it's one thing, but if it starts to affect people who would feel comfortable otherwise coming to my store, that's where it becomes more problematic, because in terms of my line of business, I want people to be able to come there and feel okay. And if anybody has a reason not to, and it's something that I can address, I have to address it. So, yeah, that's what we're sort of bringing up.
Well, this is specifically requested to.
I've been made to look bad against my friends and even my bosses when we work together. It's incredibly infuriating, because you recommend somebody for work and then it turns out that they're just not doing it well.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, why'd you hire this person? Why did you do that? And it's like,
So he was let go from a job on sexual harassment claims.
Okay.
And I guess has a history of that. He has like boundary issues and like awareness of that issues, and sometimes I don't think it's I actually don't think it's ever intentional.
Okay.
Like sometimes even like I'm like, please don't, and there's like it's just no, I don't know. It's like, but when someone says no, it means no.
Yeah.
Like it's not just always touching. Sometimes it's like the way things get said or done, whatever. Like there are significant boundary issues, like significant.
And they're not just isolated to sexualized.
Right.
Oh, they definitely are.
Financial.
There's a lot of different.
There's significant
it's a
boundary
variety.
issues.
Okay.
And a lot of it I feel like comes from just like a lack of awareness.
Yeah.
And it's not intentional. It's not like it's like I'm like there's no manipulation.
Yeah.
I
don't feel it's malice. It's just
not in the
being
slightest.
unaware.
It's completely unaware.
And everybody's on the same page with that. Like malice is not felt.
That's to my understanding. I haven't talked to everybody. I've just heard from some people as well that other people have not decided that they haven't talked about it. So there's like 2 or 3 people that haven't addressed it specifically, but party number 2 is like, yeah, party 3 over here is uncomfortable, and this is why. And this is sort of what we're theorizing.
Okay.
And I guess I can't speak universally, but it seems like the general consensus is it's not malice, but it is something that could be addressed. And actually, I think it's been something that's been mentioned because a lot of people have stepped in at some point and said, hey, like something needs to be done, or you need to pay John back, or you need to do this or that. You need to go get your GED. You need to,
be responsible.
It's like, well.
But then this is where I like it's like an absolute energy drain, is because every time that I'm around him, like he just will complain and complain and complain and complain, and it's like the blame game. It's everything else's fault. It's everyone else's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Every other job that didn't work, every other situation that didn't work is someone else's fault. Something, every relationship that sours, that person is crazy or psychotic or just doesn't understand. It's like if someone says that you harass them, that's on you. Like you've got to start taking responsibility for boundary problems.
So,
and if every single person or every single situation it's the same story, when are you going to learn that you've got a problem? Like when is it going to start to click? And instead of you just saying, oh, that's just how I am, and people need to learn that that's how I am. No, you need to change. If it's consistently becoming an issue when you're like that, like it's got to stop.
So, and if the general consensus is that there's not a malice behind it, where does the social unawareness come from?
I don't know.
Wow, that's good
I don't know.
question.
My kid, and I voiced this to John yesterday when he was saying that we needed to talk to him about it. And I said, my concern is that this will then all fall into the next category of oh, it's everybody against me. I didn't do anything wrong. These people are crazy. This is bad. And like
Okay.
it's just gonna fall into another. It's not my fault.
So, what are your options?
I don't know.
What do you feel like are the options? Because that's one is to
Yeah.
put it out there and he takes it shitty.
That's
one option.
unfortunately the
There's the option of not do anything, not say anything,
right.
and continue as is.
Just let it
There's the
happen.
option of say this much and that much, and
Mhm.
like try to kid glove it and pull punches. And
Right.
what the fuck would you do that for anyway?
Yeah.
So I mean, this like in my view. I think you have to say like all of it out on the
That's
table.
sort of the plan, is to meet up at like some point. And I don't want to do it in front of everybody. I want to set him down one-on-one and be like, listen, this is basically what's going on.
Yeah.
And you can make excuses and you can find a way to word your way out of it, but objectively this is actually what's happening. This is how it's affecting people.
Well,
universally.
the way that I would suggest like fronting that is basically where you're actually requesting of him,
Mhm.
I'm asking you to absorb something.
Yeah.
I'm asking for your help with something because we
Yeah.
don't know what to do.
I think that's
so,
fair.
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
literally like we're asking your
We need your help
responsibility to
to
stand
resolve.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that it's not like, hey, we don't like this and this and this, and you need to do
Right,
something
sure.
about it. Like,
That makes sense.
we are asking for your
Mm-hmm.
we're asking for your consideration and
Right.
your help
Right.
in this because we don't know how to do that. We love you and we don't know
Right.
how to go about this.
Sure.
And we need your help to know how to deal with this.
Yeah.
Like, so that inherently right up front, his responsibility isn't something that, I mean, that's the first word out your mouth.
Yeah.
That's the first word out your mouth.
Yeah.
We need your help. Basically.
Yeah. 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 No, I think that's a good way to keep in mind for
I
the
wouldn't
approach.
kid glove like
I don't think so
say parts
either.
of pieces of it. Like
It needs to be just
if you make people uncomfortable financially, if you take people advantage of people in a sexual boundary way, if you're literally having this effect everywhere you go, then I guess this is what I would say. If you guys believe that this person has the capacity
Mhm.
to hear
Mhm.
and to alter,
Mhm.
then like empower him totally and like atomic bomb him.
I agree.
Be respectful, be loving. I'm
Yeah.
not saying be abusive. Of course
Yeah,
not.
no, yeah.
Of course not. But
That's gonna be very important, is just sort of figuring out the approach and
Yeah. And like
Making it clear.
having some plan of I'd love to sit down and talk with you again in a few days. Like think about it, kick it around, and like let's sit down again.
Sure.
So you're not saying to him like, hey, fuck you,
Yeah.
or hey, we don't like this. You're saying
Yeah.
this is what we need,
Yeah.
and we're here still. Like we're not going
Right.
anywhere necessarily, but this is an avenue we're offering,
Yeah.
basically.
I value you and I want this to improve. So if I didn't value you, I would just drop you.
Can we sit down and
Yeah.
talk again?
And so to figure out a way to really, to empower somebody with the chance to become better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be better. I want people to be better. I want to simply drop people or hope they die or get rid of people. I want literally every person who's struggling to become better.
I don't know if you've ever had the experience or been the person in the experience personally where you were so challenged with something that you had to change. You had no choice. Or they had no choice.
Sure.
Because it was literally like this or that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when somebody is ready for it,
Mhm.
and when somebody wants it, and when somebody respects where the information is coming from, they rise to that occasion.
Mhm.
So the only thing that you're doing by risking this is finding out where he's at. Is he ready for that or not?
Sure.
And that isn't something that anybody is responsible for
Sure.
at all.
Michelle, do you think it would be better to do this on a one-on-one basis, or would a group conversation be better? I feel a group conversation will allow them to listen to more points of view. We'll run the risk of everyone's against me much more.
So, yeah, and I think, I would intervention it. I'm not saying a lot of people, but
Yeah.
a few, like a handful, maybe 3
Some of the people that are
people
affected
that
directly. Yeah.
affected directly, but also that have the capacity to like lovingly
Yeah.
deliver that sort of information and aren't scared to say something, completely point blank in that manner.
Yeah.
And that can believe in him and trust him to be able to handle that. Because
Yeah.
if anybody's in that conversation that doesn't believe he can handle it,
Mhm.
they don't belong there.
That's fair.
Do you know what I'm
I
saying?
think that's
Like
completely fair.
the people that talk to him need to believe that he's got a higher capacity than this.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
It does.
And I don't know who you're talking about, but what it sounds to me like is almost if there's no malice, then it sounds to me like there's probably some sort of spectrum disorder or something like that. So you are, dealing with somebody that thinks differently and functions differently socially, interpersonally. And the me against everybody against me thing, you don't have to, that has nothing to do with somebody's psychological disorder. That is a posture. That's a spiritual posture in the world that you can have whether your IQ is here or whether you're regardless. Like the victim stance or responsibility, belief, and self stance.
Yeah.
That's a spiritual posture that just we have regardless of our capacity socially. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be afraid of that or shy away from that.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Just because there is a social, like maybe developmental delay or something like that.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like those are separate issues.
That makes sense. And I think we want to align a handful of people and sort of, discuss sort of what the most important way to approach this is going to be.
Yeah.
And, who's ready to and who's not. Because some people, like you said, might not even be like prepared to address it the way it needs to be addressed.
Right.
So,
not everybody is offering, right?
That's true.
I mean, not everybody is offering to like tell him this and then be there afterwards to help with the fallout. Not everybody is offering that.
Right.
So, I mean, even, being able to say like, we want to do this, but we're not asking other people to be in this conversation with us.
Right.
For specific reasons. And like, no, like this is not just a free for all.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. What's interesting the other day is this wasn't really on my mind. Ariel and I had this sort of discussion, like just sort of off and on as it was, and a lot of this conversation actually came up yesterday night. I think it was actually last night at the store. A couple folks came in. We all sort of sat down and sort of discussed the idea of this. But that morning, as I was in the shower, I was sitting there washing my hair, thinking, and I was like, "Oh, I think I'm in a good place right now because I don't have anything on my mind that warrants sitting in the shower thinking about it." Because that's the time where you overload your brain, right? And so, because I was thinking in the shower, I was like, "I don't have any conflicts going on. This is going to be a fast shower." And so then that evening that got brought up, I was like, all right, well, there it is. But it's, it's important. I think it's going to be a good thing to discuss because number one is I also want to help this person, and I will do what it takes to help this person, but it's going to require a very firm kind of love and, not budging from that because I'm very easygoing with a lot of people, but it gets to a point where if I see them self-destructing, even on a really soft level like this, it has to be addressed, and I'm working on getting better at that to try to help other people. Because I know there's times when I was young, I needed it very badly. And you were actually one of the catalysts in my life. So, when I was at my rock bottom, not knowing what to do, not knowing where I was, thank you for that.
It's viable to ask him to trust you.
I think so. I think that'll be important. It's going to go one way or another, but doing it in a group and showing support could bring him back on track. Yeah, I think, showing that you want somebody around.
Yeah, and, I wouldn't make a big deal about it being an emergent thing. If he takes it shitty up front, fine. If he takes it beautifully up front and it unravels, fine.
Sure.
That how's this going to go and is this going to work thing, you might not have that answer for weeks.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that also doesn't need to be a pressure that anybody is under, is to see this get better now or see it be received well now. Just being honest and completely loving in the midst of it, and don't kid glove anything. He has got the capacity to handle it. Like, he's a grown ass man. He can handle it regardless. And just really honoring that everybody can handle this. In the honesty of it.
I think so. I think it's something that we can make work, and I think it's going to be very important. And hopefully this is like the catalyst for his life that allows him to turn around, because I think sometimes we all sort of need that one moment of clarity to go, oh crap, I got to get it together.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had the experience of like waking up one day and being like, holy shit, I'm the one that's been shooting myself.
Yeah.
Oh, this is me.
Yeah.
I spent years thinking I pooped the bed.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, fuck.
I think to some extent he is aware of, because when we were talking about getting him enrolled in the CNM stuff, he did tell me, he's like, well, and I know I'm just really lazy, like I have issues with it. And I was like, okay, then you have to fight that.
Yeah, it's a good
Like,
acknowledgement,
you do
but
need to go.
that
like,
means you need to notify
do
it,
something about it.
Yeah.
Like I think to some extent he's aware that it's simply like the fire needs to get lit under his butt.
Right, but
This has changed.
you know, when we say like, yeah, I know this is my problem, sometimes we do that nominally because it makes people back off.
that's true.
Like, yeah, he knows
Yeah.
he's lazy.
Yeah,
Well, let's take that a step further.
right.
You're driving me fucking batshit crazy with it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially.
I was always taught in a blunt manner, but since I made friends with this unique character from Canada, he taught me being gentle and honest helps. Yeah, I mean, being firm but tempered with compassion and humility is going to be a really important part of being a leader. Being a leader is talking to people, and we can all be leaders, you know, but it really comes down to how you conduct yourself and, you know, self-responsibility as well as compassion.
Yeah.
You know, being compassionate is going to be good.
Absolutely good. No nonsense.
Yeah.
But kindness.
I was going through a breakdown in college. Yeah, it can be tough. Life can be hard, and
Those are the
it's
fun years.
it's wonderful when people will take the time to like sit with us, no matter how hard it is, and say, you know, I will help you
Yeah.
become better, but you're gonna have to
Yeah.
change. You know.
You remember I had Kat, my friend Kat,
Oh,
out
yeah,
in
yeah.
New York that like
Mhm.
I bugged the snot out of her, but I was like, I couldn't be happy to save my life. The only thing I knew how to do was blame everybody else and be violent and be mean and like
Yeah.
ruin myself. And you know, she really was a huge catalyst for me.
Mhm.
And then on the heels of that came me coming into your life.
Right.
And on it goes. So
It's
take
cyclical,
it
yeah.
take it to him.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. With that, we've been going on for about an hour and a half now. I think it's we
Yep.
get to wind it down
Good time.
and wind it up.
It's so loud.
Wow.
The wind is really
It was
loud today.
windy today.
Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah.
Blustery day.
It is a
Blustery
blustery
day.
I wish I had blisters on my scalp.
I just wanted
Winnie
to
the
play
Pooh and the
Stardew
Blustery
Valley.
Day. Do you remember that
Winnie
one?
the
Winnie
Pooh
Yes.
and the
Blustery-
blistery scalp.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's all, Piglet, please
Don't. No.
What? You don't like my Winnie the Pooh impression? I only said was one very nice thing, which is the name of his best friend.
I don't trust you.
You don't.
Yeah.
No, I'm smart. I know that.
Stab the wind.
I'm gonna start practicing my Winnie the Pooh impression and see if I can mess you up.
I know, but I don't. You can't take Winnie the Pooh from me.
I will never take Winnie the Pooh from you. I'll enhance him for you.
No.
I'll make him better. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this evening. It's been really, really great. There's always a lot of good conversation to be had. And if any of you guys ever have things you want to talk about, feel free to drop them in the comments during the live stream, and we'll talk about them. We can talk about them the whole time or just part of the time or whatever it takes for you to feel peace of mind. But it's great to have you back.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back, Michelle.
Thank you.
That's your name, isn't it, Michelle?
Still, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you for
Chevelle.
being here.
Chanel.
Chanel.
Shalma.
Chanel.
Chanel
All right.
number 5.
Chanel number 5.
All right, Mambo number 5. It's been good, and we'll see you guys maybe next. Well, yeah, I have to work open to close next week, but I'll be back in time for this. So
Yes.
What is next week? The 26th?
26th. I'll just be working for one of my employees.
I'm
there.
here. I'm
Okay.
in.
All right, we'll be there then.
Mwah.
Love you guys. Have a good night. Till
Good
next
night.
time.